Welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I am your host, Ron Dichter. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of this community of ours. I want to tell a story today that I've told before, maybe not the whole story, but I was talking with somebody yesterday, and they were talking about the kind of that moment where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And we've all been there. We've all had those moments of struggle where we just feel like it's just too much and it's just not worth it. And you're ready to just quit, throw in the towel and kind of move on. And I remember a time really vividly in my life where I also hit that. And I think I did an episode 5 or 6 months ago about rock bottom, and it kind of talks about this story, but I really just want to spend the bulk of today talking about this story because it really resonated with me yesterday when, this guy was telling me about just kind of his business and where he's at. And it was really depressing. And, I did my best to lift him up and talk about the positive. But I thought that sharing my story here about kind of a moment in my life, and there's been more than one, but one specifically where things were bad and how I pulled myself out of it. If you've never been there, you're very fortunate. If you have been there, you know what I'm talking about. And if you've been there many times, like myself, you know more than your share what that's like. So I was a junior in college, and I had just started my uh, journey as an entrepreneur. I actually had a job at the time, and I tried a business that I was struggling at. And it kind of was early days in the business, and I just felt like between trying to go to school, starting a business, having no money, like this was just too much for a 20-year-old 19-year-old kid to deal with. And I remember telling my mom, I called her and I said, I'm done. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, no, I'm just done. Like I can't do this anymore, and I'm coming home. And at the time I was going to college at the University of Utah, which is where I did graduate from. And my parents were living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I had gotten in my old Plymouth Reliant K that my aunt had given to me. And I started the journey of driving from Salt Lake City to Milwaukee. And I believe it was sometime in January, middle of winter. And somewhere around Iowa, my car broke down. And I, was really just upset. I didn't have any money to fix it. And I decided to go to the Greyhound bus station and bought a one-way ticket from, I can't remember, I think it was like Davenport, Iowa to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I just literally abandoned that car and left it there because it wasn't worth anything. And I was just down on my luck and depressed and didn't know what to do. I got to Milwaukee, and my parents were excited but also a little bit concerned that I was there in the first place. My dad is a big believer in education, and he thought I was dropping out of college, which I guess at that moment I really was. But I didn't actually declare that I was dropping out. I just didn't enroll in that semester. And they said, what are you going to do? And I said, I have no idea. And the next day I woke up, my mom handed me the classified section, and I started coming through it and called a bunch of places, ended up getting an interview at a Chrysler Dodge car dealership. Went in for the interview. They ended up giving me the job on the spot. And the next day I started. And I had never sold cars before. But I came in for my first day. And I think I've told this story before where, it was the manager literally handed me some product guides, said, learn the material. And then once I got done with that, he said, wait for customers to come in, and you're second tier. So, if the guys out front don't get it, and the customer makes it in and hasn't been, approached, then it's your job to go talk to them. So, okay. So first day, I think I talked to maybe one person. Second day, I'm 2/3 of the way through the day, and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, I'm literally sitting around all day just waiting for someone to come in and talk to me. So I got motivated, and I grabbed a White Pages, which for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a telephone book with people in it. I know they have phones for that now, but back then we didn't. And I grabbed a White Pages, And I started in the letter A, and I just started making calls. And I was calling people saying, my name is Ron. I work at Chrysler Dodge down the street, and wasn't sure if you were in the market for a new car, but we have some great models, and kind of went through a pitch. And after, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 calls, my manager came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm trying to, drum up some business to get people to come in and meet with me at the dealership." He's like, "No, we don't do that." And I said, "Well, why not?" He's like, "That's not how it works in this business." I said, "And has anyone tried it?" And he kind of got annoyed with me. Like I was getting lippy. I'm in this, snotty 19, 20-year-old kid. And, he kind of went on his way and just said, "We don't do that." And so I sat around for another hour or two, and I'm like, this is not going to work. And so I went back to talk to him. I said, "Look, like, I can't sit around all day waiting for someone to want to buy something. I need to go create that opportunity." And he said, "That's not how we do it in car sales. So if you want to work here, this is how you do it." And I went back and I thought about it, and I thought to myself, like, why, if I'm willing to do this for someone else's dealership and I'm willing to go think outside of the box and drum up business, like, why can't I do that in my life? Like, what is wrong with me that I'm willing to do this here, but I'm not willing to go do it in my own business or my own life? And at that point, I said to myself, I'm not going to do this. And I went into my manager and I said, "Look, I apologize for wasting your time, but this is just not for me." And he didn't really care and said, "Okay, that's fine." And so I left. I drove home. I told my parents what I had done. My dad was a little bit concerned because now I have dropped out of college and I didn't have a job. And I just walked out of the job that I had. And I just kind of went to bed that night and laid there thinking about like my life and how bad is it that I've come to the point where I've quit college. I have given up on a business that I just started. And, yet I had the motivation to go try to make sales at a car dealership when they told me you can't do it that way. And I laid there and finally fell asleep, sometime around 1 or 2 in the morning. Got up the next morning and walked into my mom's room probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I said, "I'm leaving." And she's like, "What do you mean you're leaving?" I said, "I'm gonna take a bus and I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna enroll in college, I'm gonna finish school, and I'm gonna give a go of my business." And if I had not done that, I wouldn't be here today. I ended up graduating college with 100 employees and 5 offices, ended up growing that business to over $100 million in sales. Like, none of that would happen if I had just thrown in the towel and given up. And I almost did. So if you're at that point in your life where things are hard and you're thinking about quitting and you don't see light at the end of the tunnel, I've been there. Like, I know what that feeling is like. But if you believe in your business and you believe in your mission and you're willing to put in the work that it takes to be successful, even in the face of adversity, even when you feel like nothing is working, if you're willing to do that, great things are going to come. So don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. You got this. I've been there. I know it's hard. I know there's everyone around you that's telling you, you should just quit. But if you believe it and you can make it happen, you got to go for it. Don't throw in the towel now. Hope you find this helpful. Again, my goal is to help entrepreneurs around the world. I believe that entrepreneurs are the people that are changing this world. And while I don't have every answer, I've started a lot of businesses. I've exited a lot of businesses. Have been fortunate enough to have some really great people who have mentored me in my life. And I just want to pay it forward and help in any way that I can. So hopefully you can get some value out of this. Please don't forget to like and comment and share. Please share it with somebody out there. Get the message out there. I really think entrepreneurs are the greatest thing that this country has going for it, and we need to keep putting our effort into helping these people change the world. Have a great day. I'm Ron Dichter. This is Projecting Grandeur.